Excellence for Biodiversity, Forests and Seascapes Ecosystems Management. The overall objective of the program is to ensure forests, biodiversity and seascape ecosystems in 24 countries in Eastern and Southern services. The Center of Excellence will endeavor to live up to its legacy of upholding the highest standards, continuously improving its quality of services and products. In addition, it will safeguard the resources' contribution to the well-being of the populations by providing improved, regular and updated
Yes. We are immeasurably honored by your presence at this historic event. Our guest of honor, I wish also to extend special gratitude to delegations from the over 20 countries represented here. They have traveled from far and wide to be with us here today. Some of them have been here from the beginning of the week because we had a pre-launch training workshop that attracted representatives from all these 24 countries. I believe those of you who came from outside of Kenya, you feel at home here in Kenya. So as ably introduced by the previous speaker, Mr. Ngugi, the occasion that has brought us together today is the launch of the Regional Center of Excellence for Biodiversity, Forests, and Seascape Ecosystems Management. It is a center that will serve 24 countries in the Eastern and Southern Africa region, covering the 3 ecosystems that are critical to the realization of the UN's SDGs, the African Union's Agenda 2063, and more specifically, the climate change agenda that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, is championing on the African continent, with you, our guest of honor, at the forefront. Our chief guest, I wish to thank the European Union for selecting RCMRD as the ideal host of this important resource, as well as having C4, the Center for International Forest Research, as our implementing partner. A lot of hard work went into developing this initiative, and great credit goes to the EU delegation in Kenya, led by Myra and her team, as well as the Managing Director of CIFO, Dr. Peter Minang, who will have some remarks to make later. EU delegation in Kenya, led by Myra and her team, as well as the Managing Director of CIFO, Dr. Peter Minang, who will have some remarks to make later, and his team, including Paulo and others who are not here with us today. So this initiative, as explained, is building on some projects we have been implementing together with IUCN, represented by Leo, C4, JRC, UNEP, WCMC. These programs are by PAMA and OFFA as described, and you'll hear more about them in subsequent presentations. Indeed, the contribution of JRC and IUCN in the development process of this center, the Center of Excellence, is greatly appreciated, and we expect their continued collaboration in its resonates with the ideals and aspirations of the RCMRD founders a century ago. As I said, the center has been here since 1975. RCMRD came into being at the initiation of the United Nations and later tasked OAU and UNECA to set up an institution that would help countries in Eastern and Southern Africa harness the potential of Earth observations, geospatial technologies, and mapping to measure, plan for, and utilize the abundant natural resources. Kenya offered to host that institution and has discharged that role since 1975. Therefore, this new Center of Excellence is very much in line with the mandate of RCMRD, and we are grateful to the EU for providing the resources that I believe will not only benefit our region, but our common planet. Guest of honor, as I conclude my remarks, I wish to make a simple request that beyond launching the center, we would like to request you to remain its champion and allow us to seek your counsel and guidance on how best it can contribute to the great work you are doing for the good of our continent. So I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. I'll another round of applause to the DG. So we'll proceed to one of our partners, one of the implementing partners we have for this particular project. It is C4 ECRAF. We have been working with C4 for quite some time. We have been building the Forest Observatory from 2016 and up to 2023, and now we are taking it to the next step. And to share with us some few words on what we are going to be doing is Dr. Peter Minang from C4. And you're most welcome, sir.
Good afternoon once again. Honorable Soipan Tuya, CS for Environment, represent the government of Kenya. We are the Deputy EU representative here present, represented by Ms. Bernardi, my fellow DG and brother, Dr. Kurunziza of RCMRD, representatives of other institutions, ESRI, IUCN, EU, JRC, KFS that I've seen in the room, delegates here present from all the RCMRD countries that have been here over the last few days. Good afternoon once again. Thank you all on behalf of C4 for being here, for taking the time to be here, especially the CS. We are very grateful for the support that your ministry has been giving throughout this period and the work that we've been doing in the country. So thank you very much for taking the time. We really value that, and we look forward to your support throughout the project. I'll also want to extend our heartfelt thanks to the EU through Ms. Bernardi here for all of the hard work that we had to put this project together. And it wasn't just a simple process. I can tell you many people will see the EU as a donor, but in my experience working with them over the last 20 years, they have brilliant people with also brilliant ideas technically, and they bring this to the table as well. An excellent experience. And you can also see we had extensive discussions with Myra, I can remember, Thomas, and everybody, and also with Steve on this, and IUCN colleagues. So we are really glad that this is happening today. So thank you all. We are really grateful for the partnership. And I would want to also mention that this partnership is very valuable for us. It's true that RCMRD is the center itself, but we know that data exists everywhere else. Government is a huge custodian of data. Kefri, that is here in the room, is a custodian of some kind of data. JRC has huge data digitally available. So we really value all the partnership because we think that what everyone brings to the table is extremely important. And as we launch today, we would really want to see this spirit moving on as we move, because the job is huge. And as Michael mentioned, the second thing that I really wanted to emphasize is that even though you're launching RCMRD, the Center for Eastern and Southern Africa, here today, this program is a continent, almost a continent-wide program, covering at least 80% of the continent. RCMRD covers 24 countries. You have COMIFAC, OFFA, that covers the 11 countries of the Congo Basin. That's another center in itself, and doing almost the same thing as RCMRD would be doing at this center. And we have Centre de Suivi Écologique based in Dakar that will be covering all of the ECOWAS countries. And so what we are looking at is not a program that ends in Eastern and Southern Africa. It's a huge continental effort that is so important for us on the continent. I think that it is also important to mention the fact that even in those other places, we have really key partners that are working on this. And I'm sure JRC, Steve would be referring to that as we move forward. But also, as Michael mentioned, I think that it is important to look at that this is one of the few programs that really emphasizes data and science and information. It is rare. We have programs, but nothing this big, at least in these 3 successive programs, really focusing on data and the science of forest and ecosystems, you know, and seascapes. So this is really a unique program in itself, and I think that it is a huge opportunity for all of us to move forward and make the continent better. I remember when in 2016 there was an African Data Revolution report that talked about all of the kinds of gaps that we have on data on the continent. And that is really true. And we will be trying to sort this out. The regional resource hubs have been trying to move that forward. But one of the things that I really like to emphasize as I get, you know, to the close of this is the fact that we are not only going to be producing data for data's sake. We would want all of you in the room, key stakeholders, to use this data, because data without any use doesn't really help us. If you look at all of the indices that we have on the reflecting the continent, one of the key things that you would find in a lot of the maps that you find around indices in the world, sometimes you find countries without data. But also, we need to make sure that the data is moving into our decision making. We are bringing that into the decision making. That is why One of the objectives of this also is looking at digesting, analyzing that data and bringing that into policy. So Bwana CS, Madam CS, we are really glad that you're here, and we look forward to working with you so that that data actually gets into the policies and decisions that are being made, especially with all the other partners that we have in the room. One thing that is clear, I remember there was a Nigerian professor that said, data and science may not be able to save Africa in itself, but Africa cannot develop and move forward without data and science. So I think this is really important for us to remember that we need to really move forward with data and using it and applying it. And this center that is being launched today really gives us a big opportunity. It would be open, and you can come to the center for any data that you will need. Thank you once again for being here, and we look forward to working with all of you. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause. So we have heard from the two implementing partners, RCMRD and C4. So just to appreciate where we are coming from, we have a legacy that was built between BioPharma and OFFA. It built the solid foundation that brought us here. So we are going to hear from three speakers. One of them is from the Joint Research Center of the European Union, our good friend, Steve Pidel. The last time he was here, our campus was a bit small on this side. So when he came, he was a bit lost. And feel welcome, and Steve, let's hear from you. Thank you.
Honourable Cabinet Secretary, Director General, colleagues, partners and friends. Yeah, you guys have been busy. Quite a lot has been going on here since I was last here, and it's great to be back. It's an honour to be here today for the launch of this Regional Centre of Excellence, representing the Joint Research Centre, JRC. We're the science service of the European Commission and a long-standing partner of RCMRD. We're delighted that that partnership that's evolved through BioPharma and other projects will continue through this programme. Conserving our natural heritage and ensuring sustainable livelihoods is a complex, collective effort. And BioPharma, with its emphasis on data for decision-making, has had a significant impact on conservation and biodiversity from the site level right up to global level reporting. We've moved from mapping to insight. Our world has never been measured and mapped as much as it is today. But biodiversity is still in crisis. Our forests and oceans are still under enormous pressure. So how can we communicate this to policymakers? How can we ensure that we meet the ambitious targets of the new global biodiversity framework? Clearly, we need that understanding that comes from reliable data and robust science. As Peter said, we must make data actionable and relevant. We must continue to strive to enhance policy making, to move from data to decisions. We've built, through our partnership to date, the BioPharma Reference Information System, a comprehensive suite of geospatial tools that, working with RCMRD, we've also embedded in the Regional Resource Hub. Together with those partners in West and Central Africa, we've developed dedicated information platforms for 2 other observatories, and we're now embarking on supporting a network of 3 centres of excellence that cover the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. BioPharma and the OFFA projects have given us an unparalleled technical and institutional infrastructure that is an excellent foundation for building this network of centres of excellence. In BioPharma, we focused on protected areas and their management and transformed our understanding of the effectiveness of site-based efforts to conserve nature. We reduced the gap between local data and knowledge to global level reporting, and we showed how geospatial and Earth observation data combined with in situ measurements and surveys could enhance our understanding of the incredibly complex dynamics of protected and conserved areas. So what have we learnt, and how can this shape our journey towards the centres of excellence? First and foremost, although we all love the technology, we cannot underestimate the fundamental importance of partnership. Mapping gives us that shared understanding, and we should harness this shared experience to continue to work together, each partner bringing their own perspectives and expertise to play within the work of the Centres of Excellence. I thank RCMRD and IUCN and the authorities of all the region's member countries for having worked so well together through the Biopharma Observatory and the Regional Resource Hub. And I look forward to future joint efforts with C4ICRAF and other partners in the Centre of Excellence programme. But we need to look beyond biodiversity. Already our conservation efforts are based on linking people with nature, promoting sustainable development. Already through this centre, we have a perspective that takes us from biodiversity to forest to seascapes. And the overall Regional Centres of Excellence programme will link to water, to agri-food systems, to energy, to climate risk, to oceans. The Africa Knowledge Platform, developed by the JRC, supports the integration of data across topics and reflects this interdisciplinary, holistic approach. We need to look beyond protected and conserved areas to look at the broader landscapes and seascapes and the communities that rely on them. And last but not least, we must promote data sharing. Too often we focus on the technology, whilst important data remains locked away in different systems, unable to be analysed and used. Whilst respecting data ownership and issues of sensitivity, we must provide incentives to share data more widely in appropriate forms to fuel the systems we are building. Geographic information systems, we have representatives from one of the world's leading geographic information systems providers, combined with the proper data sharing agreements, are the backbone of an infrastructure that is integrated across topics and across technologies. RCMRD knows this full well and has an excellent track record of building advanced geospatial systems to address our most pressing environmental and developmental challenges. I congratulate everyone involved in the efforts today to build this regional capacity, and I offer the full support of the Joint Research Centre in taking the work of this Regional Centre of Excellence forward. Thank you very much.
Very good. Another round of applause to Steve. So we shall also hear from IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature. We have Leo Niskanen. We started engagement with them way back in 2018 by building the Biopharma. It was a very, very small thing, but they helped us to create this big utility called the Regional Resource Hub, and now it will be transitioning to the Regional Center of Excellence. So we have our good friend, Leo. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Our guest of honor, Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry in Kenya, Rosalinda Soipantuya, Director General of RCMRD, Dr. Emmanuel Kurunziza, representative from the European Union, delegation to Kenya, Myra Bernardi, conservation partners, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's a real pleasure and an honor to be invited to this launch of the Regional Center of Excellence and to give you a few remarks on behalf of IUCN. First of all, I'd like to congratulate RCMRD and C4ICRAF for organizing this important launch event to introduce the center to relevant stakeholders across the region and to ensure continuity for countries in collating relevant data and information on biodiversity and natural resource management in Eastern and Southern Africa. IUCN is delighted to continue its close relationship with RCMRD and C4ICRAF in this new endeavor and commits to supporting the work on the implementation of the UNCBD Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework in the region through its various networks and implementing partners, linking closely to these regional centers of excellence to ensure that progress on the global biodiversity framework is documented and that countries can effectively report against its targets. To this end, IUCN is one of the partners with RCMRD in the application to become this regional science and knowledge hub linked to the CBD that Mr. Gugi talked about earlier. Through the EU-funded BIOPAMA program that we've heard about earlier today, IUCN and the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, with support from UNEP WCMC, partnered with RCMRD to develop the regional resource hub and build a community of practitioners working on biodiversity and natural resource management who have spent the past week here to further develop their connections and skills to continue to collect, analyze, and report data on biodiversity and protected area management in the Eastern and Southern Africa region. IUCN is excited that the foundation that was laid through the development of Regional Resource Hub with the BIOPAMA program is now feeding into these regional centers of excellence and expanding the scope of work significantly into other sectors and areas, providing official data and information for policy development and implementation to secure ecosystem functions and biodiversity. The work of the Regional Center of Excellence will continue to inform decision-making, and IUCN looks forward to both contributing and using the services and functions of the center, in particular for policy engagement, but also for action on the ground. For example, in June this year, IUCN will be hosting the IUCN Africa Conservation Forum here in Nairobi, bringing together all of its IUCN members and partners across Africa to discuss and debate African solutions to the climate and biodiversity crises. This will be feeding into other regional and global policy fora, such as the upcoming 16th conference of the parties to the CBD later this year. And obviously, scientifically robust and accurate data and information will play a key role in all these discussions. Finally, I wanted to mention the IUCN Action Component grant-making mechanism in BIOPAMA, through which IUCN and the beneficiaries of the various grants have contributed significantly in advancing conservation efforts on the ground in over 124 protected and conserved areas in the region, with the priority actions in these areas informed by the tools and information available through the Regional Resource Hub. IUCN is excited that this support for action on the ground through data and information will continue to grow through the Regional Center of Excellence. Just to conclude these remarks, IUCN wants to reiterate our commitment to continue promoting the role of the Regional Center of Excellence in the region as a source of credible and reliable information. And we look forward to continuing our partnership with RCMRD and its partners in this important work. So I thank you again for including IUCN in this launch event. We wish RCMRD and C4ICRAF great success in further development of this Regional Center of Excellence. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause to Leo. So we'll also hear from, so the two speakers, Leo and Steve, they talked about BIOPAMA. So let us hear about OFFA project that we are implementing with C4. And my good friend Douglas, please share with us some remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our chief guest, Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, Honorable Soipan Tuya, heads of institutions that are present, global and national, our partners in the countries that we've worked with, good afternoon. So as it has been mentioned, OFFA has been one of the initiatives that is transitioning to Regional Center of Excellence together with BIOPAMA. OFFA was mainly focusing on forest landscapes, whereas BIOPAMA was looking at the biodiversity and protected areas. And OFFA was also funded by EU. We really appreciate that support. We provided a platform for exchanging, sharing, and accessing data and information. So OFFA was also hosted here at RCMRD, as it has been mentioned. Together with the team here, we really worked in terms of collecting data and also looking at the governance aspect of data. So as it's been mentioned, sometimes sharing data is not easy. one of the aspects that OFFA really focused on was looking at barriers to successful sharing of data. So we really focused in terms of developing recommendations of data sharing. What is it that can incentivize partners, stakeholders who are holding data in sharing data? So two result areas that we focused on was developing a governance framework for data sharing, and this will inform the second phase transitioning into the Regional Center of Excellence. One of the things that we managed to accomplish is eliciting these discussions on governance around data sharing. So we engaged the 5 countries that we were working in. This is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and Mozambique, in terms of starting the discussions, because one of the gaps that emerged was that even within countries, sharing of data was a big challenge. So OFFA managed to initiate these discussions, and it will be a key thing that we aim to continue in the Regional Center of Excellence. Another aspect that we focused on was capacity building. This was capacity at 2 levels of officials from the national forestry agencies that were trained in terms of technologies and tools for forest monitoring. Under OFFA, we engaged about 14 national forestry and biodiversity institutions in this capacity building, and RCMRD was key in terms of taking lead in capacity building. We also worked with the partners in terms of involving communities and actors at the local level in terms of contributing to data, what we call citizen science. So we worked in specific hotspot areas, and what we are currently developing is some good practices that we also feed into the Center of Excellence. So as we move into the regional centers of excellence, we'll build on these outcomes, both from OFFA and BIOPAMA. And one of the things we'll focus on is strengthening the governance structures that are needed to support the long-term service of the regional center of excellence. We aim that the Center of Excellence becomes a reference data provider and a critical actor in informing the decision-making process, both at the national and the regional levels, and also by increasing the use of data and information to inform policy and decisions at all these levels. At the end of the action of this Regional Center of Excellence, together with the network of actors that we've worked with, the data providers, the users, and the governance structures that will be strengthened, we hope that the center will provide key services to policy and decision makers. And as it has been mentioned, it will be a reference center for reliable and updated information. And by this, we aim to enhance forest and biodiversity conservation and management in Eastern and Southern Africa through the collaboration with other regional centers in Western and Central Africa, together with the regional and global bodies that are present, and the partners that we've worked with in the countries. So we aim to strengthen this partnership and produce the key results that are envisaged within the Regional Center of Excellence. We acknowledge the financial support of EU. We really appreciate our partners in the countries that we really engage with during the OFFA and the PAMA processes. Other initiatives such as the GMS Africa and ESRI through the technologies that are being used, for instance, in the initiatives such as the MAP competition that will be mentioned later. We look forward to engaging more with you as we transition to the Regional Center of Excellence for Eastern and Southern Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause to Douglas. So that brings us to the end of the BIOPAMA and OFFA legacy. So we'll also hear from some of the partners we have worked with, we shall be working with. We know we cannot do it all by ourselves. So we have one of the partners from ESRI. They give us the technology and the software to provide the work that we do. And to share with us some remarks is David Gadsden from ESRI. Thank you.
Guest of honor, Honorable Cabinet Secretary for the Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, executive leadership from the RCMRD, C4, European Union, IUCN, JRC, AWF, UNEP, all protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm David Gadsden. I'm the Director of Conservation for the Environmental Systems Research Institute, or ESRI. I'm based in California, and I have the opportunity of serving in a global role to support conservation organizations all around the world. I'm joined today by my colleagues from ESRI Eastern Africa, based here in Nairobi, but supporting organizations all across Eastern Africa. There are over 5,000 conservation organizations around the world who leverage ESRI technology as part of over 650,000 organizations all around the world who take advantage of these geographic information systems tools to better understand their missions, the challenges around them, and their opportunities to make better decisions. I would like to, you can hear me okay, sorry. I'd like to first begin by acknowledging the incredible efforts of the BioPAMA program. There was incredible work to build capacity, deploy open and integrated systems for understanding biodiversity and sharing within countries and then across the regions. This work across the Pacific, the Caribbean, and Africa led to real impact. And now, as we stand at the launch of the Regional Centers of Excellence, now is the time for excellence in leveraging these technologies and making them more accessible across all of the actors that are working to better understand forests and seascapes and biodiversity across the continent. When we think of our work in conservation, we are not beginning from scratch. In many ways, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. These technologies have evolved rapidly over the past decades. So the opportunity with the Center of Excellence is not to begin to build tools and begin to build capacity, but to further advance the maturity and the operational use of those systems. The challenge remains to make this powerful technology relevant and applicable to local communities and indigenous peoples. There are incredibly advanced technology tools, but if they're not helpful at the local level to adapt to this incredibly changing world around us, we'll be missing the mark relative to the applicability of these tools to help unlock local knowledge, to better understand landscapes and make long-term and sustainable decisions, both for human development and for the conservation of biodiversity. In addition to our longstanding support and collaboration with the RCMRD, ESRI is also honored to partner with the IUCN on the Act 30 initiative. This is a global 30 by 30 initiative, which again aims to empower and focus on indigenous communities and local communities so that they can better be acknowledged for their stewardship of the natural world for time, in many cases, for time immemorial. It's our mission as a technology organization to serve you, to serve all of the practitioners and partnerships and actors that can take advantage of these tools to better understand the world around them. As you all know, our world is changing rapidly. Climate change is affecting everyone on the planet, all living systems, all living things. So let's take this opportunity to collaborate with one another, share and work in an open and collaborative manner to work towards a more sustainable future for ourselves and all life on Earth. Thank you.
Another round of applause to David. Thank you very much. So we'll also hear now from one of the stakeholders we have been pursuing for a very long time. I'm happy that we have managed to get them. It's Africa Wildlife Foundation. Let's welcome Kadu Sebunya, the CEO. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your introduction. I'm sorry, I just pressed something and I lost my speech. Let's talk about, I need Esri. It's gonna take me time to pull it out, but it's fine. Thank you for your patience. I got it. Thank you. Yes, Madam the Cabinet Secretary, our guest of honor for the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry in Kenya, Honorable Rosalinda. Thank you very much for honoring us. The delegation from the European Union, all our hosts, all our partners and directors, the hosts, all our delegations, and the delegations coming from all over Africa. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure to join you today to celebrate this significant achievement that will enhance knowledge and inform decisions in response to the growing global environmental challenges. If you allow me, I would like to start, as he said he's pursuing me, I would like to start by introducing our organization. I represent the African Wildlife Foundation. It's the oldest and largest Pan-African international conservation organization working in Africa. We are rallying the world around the new conservation vision for Africa. This vision promises the future where progress comes not at the expense of wildlife and their habitats, but because of them. Our vision is articulated in our three prolonged integrated approaches that will support our main outcomes. One, that Africans need to lead for wildlife and its habitats. That Africans need to amicably be living with wildlife and sustainable habitats. That Africans need to care for wildlife. In leading for wildlife, we intentionally influence Africans making decisions for conservation and for the sake of development. In living, we purposefully scale conservation models and strategies that restore and secure ecosystems by negotiating how people and wildlife share space and benefit. Data is important in this space. And in caring, we steadfast protect at-risk wildlife and their habitats as part of a larger ecosystem. That's why people must be centered. Today, I stand before you to emphasize the critical role data in shaping the approaches under those outcomes, that conservation and development should happen. We live an era where information is power. And when it comes to safeguarding our natural heritage, unlocking the power of data for decision-making is paramount. Investing in nature or conservation should never be an end in itself, but a recognition of the inherent value of ecosystems in providing essential services such as watershed protection, flood mitigation, erosion prevention, and food production. To achieve this, we must bridge the gap between local knowledge and global data assets. By integrating traditional wisdom with modern technology, we can gain powerful insights into habitat management, infrastructure planning, and disaster response. Geospatial systems we see here at the Center of Excellence, in particular, have the potential to channel climate and biodiversity financing to where it's most needed, showing cases how communities are actively protecting and restoring forest systems through sustainable practices. Let me ground these points in tangible examples from a few of our sites. In Bilwele, in protected areas in Democratic Republic of Congo, this landscape is the largest protected area system in northern Congo, DRC. With support from European Union again, and powered by ESRI, we have analyzed, catalyzed, and a transformative program that link agriculture investment, transport infrastructure, energy systems, and habitat protection. This integrated approach demonstrates the interconnectedness of conservation and development. In Tanzania, part of the Southern Agricultural Growth Corridor, we have showcased the power of holistic conservation and geomapping strategies, where integrated land use planning has expanded the national park, protected vital corridors for development, and promoted climate-smart agricultural practices and the forest landscape restoration. And then right here in Kenya, in the coastal region of Lamu, there is LAPSSET, where we are collaborating with the decision makers to ensure that investments in grey infrastructure align with the conservation goals. Our experience with geospatial systems has also supported recognizing rights of indigenous people and local communities in managing and conserving their lands through mapping and registering areas under their stewardship. We ensure their inclusion in national, regional, and global conservation targets, such as the ambitious 30 by 30 initiative. These are some of the examples we see the power of the excellence, Mr. ND, here. So thank you very much for inviting us. We look forward for the partnership, and we look forward to working with all of you from the delegates of Africa. And again, thanks European Union for the work you've done with us, and thanks for Esri for powering our technology to do what we do. Thank you.
Another round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we are going to switch gears a bit to an initiative that RCMRD will be having in this Center of Excellence. It is called a drawing, painting, and map competition. We have a lot of people, youngsters in high school, in the university, and also primary school. They would want to participate in this Center of Excellence. So how will they participate in it? It is through something called the drawing, painting, and map competition. And my colleague, Rose, will be sharing with us how this competition is. It's officially being launched today. She will give us more details about it. Welcome, Rose.
Good afternoon. As my colleague mentioned, my name is Waswa Rose Malot. Thank you, Madam CS, for gracing us with the occasion, the DG, our partners, friends of RCMRD. I'll be talking to you about the map competition, the drawing, painting, and map competition. So this is for 2024. And the objective of this initiative is to promote the use of maps, art observation, and create awareness. We are talking about biodiversity, and I believe everyone in the room understands ecosystem services, right? Provision, cultural support, and we are looking at being able to empower our users and the researchers and students at large to use these innovative solutions, as well as be creative in drawing and mapping for the sake of biodiversity. Next slide, please. So what's the benefit of the map competition? The first one is on creating awareness and the use. We are developing so many products. We are understanding the trends of a forest, seascape, and the landscape ecosystem. So what's happening and the products we are developing should be in use by the community at large. We are looking at creating synergies through this initiative of a community of practice. So in as much as we have the solutions present, we have the individuals that work within this kind of environment. We want everybody to collaborate, to work together, and then there is cross-fertilization, where we are looking at institutions that are all geared towards the same goal, which is conserving our biodiversity, and looking at the promotion of the efficient use of ecosystem services. Then we are looking at creativity, especially when we target high school and primary school going children. We start them young, right? So next slide, please. So the key timelines we are having today, we are launching the competition, and it will be up in our social media handles. This is the 22nd of March. All through, we'll be guiding, especially at the professional level, as well as supporting the primary and high school going children. And the 19th of November, 2024, this is where the winners will be announced for this competition. Next slide, please. So which countries are we covering? The entire, from the top, Sudan, South Sudan, Kenya, all the way to South Africa. And what are the prizes? The goodies, right? So we are having, the school category, we are having about 3,000 euros for the primary school. They'll be competing for the 3,000, the high school the same. And then the professional category, we are targeting for biodiversity ecosystem. Thematic area is 2,000 euros. For the SEASCAPE, it's still 2,000 euros, as well as the forestry ecosystem. The overall winner will be bagging 4,000 euros. Sounds good. So what are the participating programs? The Regional Center of Excellence, of course, is the key supporter of this, and the participating institution, apart from RCMRD, we are having C4, JRC, R3 providing the tools, Africa Knowledge Platform, and Africa Geoportal. So there are links, all this will be available online, there are links to the data sets, and then all entries into this competition will be required to use 2 data sets from one of the data platforms. Again, just to echo what has been said before, when data is made available and open, it's prone to be more used than when it is restricted. So data sharing is very important, and we are actually supporting the same. What's the judging criteria? Creativity comes first, something that is visually appealing. When we talk about the drawing and the map, it should be catchy, as well as effectively communicating. So if we are targeting to show what's the state of the seascape, what are our, for example, the turtles, what are they going through? Why are butterflies important? How can we incorporate that into a visual material that will be able to communicate? Then it has to be innovative. Of course, we have everything that at our disposal, but at the same time, we want the drawings and the paintings to effectively communicate what we want in terms of the ecosystems that we have, the biodiversity that is we have been blessed with. That's for the school category. For the professional category, this lingo is well known to those who are within this industry. It has to be, of course, visually appealing, but at the same time, the map has to be centric. You have to use the solutions that are being provided for us, and then use GIS, create map layouts and the likes, and also effectively communicate in terms of the data that you're utilizing. What are you trying to show? What can be done with this data? How can it inform policy? What do you want the decision makers to understand about geospatial data and how it can be utilized? Next, please. So just as an example, we have a map painting as well as a drawing. So the first one is communicating, what's good, what can happen in an ideal situation when we are protecting our environment, when we are geared towards protecting the forest, the seascape, and the landscape. And the second one is, hands off my task. These are the winners for last year, 2023. Next, please. So for the professional category, we are having creating web maps. You can present your output or product using a web map, a story map, a data dashboard, and a map application. That's for the professional, the researchers, academia, and the likes, as well as those who are already in the industry, not just the students. So 2023, we had 5 winners. The overall winner came from Lesotho, Mpambo. Forgive me if I pronounce it incorrectly. And then we also have the rest from the school category, primary, high school, the individual category for the professionals. And I should mention that the overall category is not done by us. We can do the judging criteria, but then the overall winner is done by everybody by virtue of voting. So the one that gets the most, the 2, then we are able to get who's the most appealing, who has communicated the best. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rose. Another round of applause. Maybe to mention that this year's winners will be announced in Zambia. That's where the governing council will be happening. And all the winners will be flown to Zambia so that they can receive the awards. It's a nice initiative, so everyone who wants to participate, you do not have to be a geographer. just have an interest in biodiversity conservation, go to the website and you'll be guided on what we want to do. For the primary and high school, the competition is easy. Just draw or paint and submit. For the professionals, go online, learn how to create a map, submit, and you'll be able to win the prize. So thank you very much. So we are switching gears to the last speaker before our chief guest comes. One of our outstanding partners, the European Union, they have always been with us. In BioPharma and OFFA program, we used to run this program from Brussels, but this time around, the Center of Excellence, we have the EU Kenya delegation who will be very close to us. And to share remarks on behalf of the Deputy Ambassador is Myra Bernardi, who is here with us. Kindly welcome to the stage.
Honorable Soipan Tuya, Cabinet Secretary Environment, and our chief guest, Dr. Peter Menang, Director for Africa, C4 ICRAF, Dr. Emmanuel from the RCMRD, PS from Botswana, who's on the RCMRD Governing Council, and all of the other 24 member countries who are members of RCMRD, as well as the regional economic commissions represented. Mr. Leonis Scannen from the IUCN, David Gadsden from ESRI, colleague from the JRC, which is another European Union institution, representatives from UNEP, AWF, and other specialized organizations. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the European Union delegation to Kenya, I'm very pleased to be part of the launch of the Regional Centers of Excellence project for biodiversity, forests, and seascapes. This project is perfectly aligned with the European Union's global priorities of the EU Green Deal, which seeks to make the European Union the first climate-neutral continent by 2050, and also the European Union Global Gateway, which seeks to facilitate strategic sustainable investments around key corridors, especially in Africa, and as a regional program, this is very much aligned. I want to take the opportunity to thank and congratulate Kenya for hosting RCMRD. As I mentioned, the center covers 24 states in East and Southern Africa and has a unique technical expertise. I want to also congratulate RCMRD for the good job you're already doing. This is evidenced by the functional regional resources hub under BioPharma and the functional OFFA observatory, forest observatory, which is implemented also together with C4 ICRAF. These will be brought together under the Regional Center of Excellence. I want to congratulate C4 ICRAF on being the lead agency also for the other two regional centers of excellence in West and Central Africa. And I want to congratulate everybody else here for being part of the biodiversity, forestry, and seascapes promoters around the world. We believe this is one of our true global public goods projects, which is trying to promote accessible, open, interoperable data sharing for key resources for the future of our planet. So everybody who's here today is playing a part of that, and we wish to thank you. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this program's overall objective is to ensure forest, biodiversity, and seascapes ecosystems are sustainably managed and continue to provide ecosystem services and contribute to the well-being of populations. This will be done by providing regular and updated information for informed decision-making. I'm very happy to note, because this is highly related, that RCMRD has reached the second stage of application to host a Global Biodiversity Framework, Regional Technical and Scientific Center. I think this is evidence of RCMRD's role, and we wish them every success in the rest of that process. We also want to note a few European Union initiatives that are aligned to this program. The first is the Natur Africa program, which is Africa-wide, you can tell by the title, but seeking to promote conservation that that improves the lives and livelihoods of communities. So this idea of communities and conservation going hand in hand at landscape level. IUCN will be involved in it, and so will many of the other organizations here. In terms of our programs in Kenya, we have worked with C4 ICRAF recently on regreening Africa with trees, where we've done key investments in agroecology and also tracking them through an innovative app called Regreening Africa with Trees app. We also launched here at RCMRD the Natural Resources Atlas for Kenya, which is, brings together about a dozen or so Kenyan ministries and agencies to map Kenya's natural resources in a very innovative atlas. BioPharma with IUCN has provided grants, local grants to conservation efforts, for example in Tsavo, Laikipia, and other landscapes in Kenya. And finally, we're preparing key partnerships with the Ministry of Environment, now on tracking NDC, so climate change monitoring, and also on integrated watershed management. So we also have a lot of Kenyan initiatives that are complementary to this one. As I close, I wanted to make a remark about how the science policy interface presents challenges, and that communication will be a key part of ensuring that this important data is used. I feel my point was taken up by the map and the challenge that we just saw now, the competition, so I can see you're ahead of the curve. But I think this will be also a key element, communicating. That's why today's event is also a significant event, to communicate the data that's available and try and make sure that other systems become interoperable with this one as well. We and everybody here plays a part of that. It's the partnerships that bring all this data together for useful policy use. With these remarks, I wish to thank you on behalf of the European Union, and I look forward to the Cabinet Secretary's speech as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maida. Another load of applause to her. So we are going to have a short 10-minute presentation from the Regional Training Center Institute. Honorable Madam CS will move with our colleagues here in the region. They are youngsters who are doing some courses in surveying, cartography, and GIS, so they will be performing to us. Welcome, colleagues from RCTI. another round of applause. Yeah. So those are our students. They are doing GIS, surveying, cartography, and when you find them in class, they are very, very calm. Yeah, so we are going to go to the chief guest speech, and to invite the chief guest, I would welcome once again our DG to welcome our chief guest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The time you've been waiting for is here. And instead of myself introducing our chief guest, I'll request one person from Botswana. Madam CS, one thing I didn't tell you is this center is owned by the 20 countries. So we are operational here, but we are governed by the ministers and the PSCs from these 20 countries. So today we have somebody who was my boss, was the chair of the governing council for 3 years between 2019 and 2022, after which took up a role as our goodwill ambassador in SADC region. She happens to be now the permanent secretary, Minister of Education and Skills Development in the Republic of Botswana. So she's here, she's been supporting RCMRD programs across the Southern Africa region, and I wish to request her to be the one to invite you, Honorable Cabinet Secretary.
Good afternoon. All protocol observed. It is such an honor to be given this privilege. Honorable Cabinet Secretary in our midst. Good afternoon, Madam. I want to take this opportunity to say it is an honor, a great honor, Madam, a great privilege to be given this opportunity to invite you to the podium to address us. As DG said, this is the opportunity that we've been waiting for. So, Honorable Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, Honorable Rosalinda Soipantua, I am honored and privileged, Madam, to invite you to the podium to deliver the speech that we've been waiting for. Madam, you are welcome. I invite you, all of you, to, Madam, I will request that you go that way. It's safer, I think. Please stand up and welcome here to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's all be seated. I thank my sister here for being cautious for me. I'm told she recently just sprained her leg, so I'm sure she was watching out for me. And also to congratulate our students of the institute here. I was asking DG, where are these dancers from? Then it turns out to be that these are his students, very talented. And I was just grappling with where the connection comes between geospatial data processing and Earth observations with such huge musical talent. Let's give them a hand clap. Thank you very much. Our representative of the European Union delegation to Kenya, Ms. Myra, the Director General for the RCMRD, Mr. Emmanuel Ngurunzinza, the Senior Scientific Officer, Joint Resource Center for the European Union, Mr. Steve Piddle, Director for Africa, Center for International Forest Research, Mr. Peter Menang, Chief Executive Officer, the Africa Wildlife Foundation, Mr. Kadu Sebunya, the regional head, Biodiversity Conservation, IUCN, Mr. Leo Niskanen, ESRI Director of Conservation Solution, Mr. David Gadsden, heads of departments here present, and I know we have local and international. At least from the local, we have our Director General. I see our Director General for NEMA. I'm told the Kenya Forest Service is represented, as well as Carefree. I also want to recognize all heads of delegations from the various member states of the 24 countries present here, distinguished guests, our students, ladies and gentlemen, hamjambo. You just say hatujambo. It is the same as jambo. Hamjambo. Asanteni sana. And I want to say karibuni to all our visiting delegations. It is with a profound sense of honor and gratitude that I stand before you to inaugurate the Regional Center of Excellence for Biodiversity, Forests, and Seascape Ecosystems Management at this very prestigious regional center for mapping of resources for development. And to really thank the leadership of RCMRD and C4ICRA for putting this together. And of course, the very valuable support of the EU. And I'm also glad that this comes hot on the heels of the International Day of Forests that we celebrated yesterday, which really focused on leveraging on innovations to enhance our forest conservation and protection. I'm also honored on behalf of our lovely country, Kenya, that we stand as hosts to this institution or this regional center. I'm told for the last almost now 50 years. And I'm also informed because I was curious to know how it landed in Kenya. But I'm told that our founding fathers found it fit to fight and actually offer to host the center those many, many years back. And this is the same story with the United Nations Environment Program. And really, this is just to say that I'm happy that the spirit that our forefathers began in wanting this country to be at the front line, a frontliner in matters conservation, still lives on. Because most of the work that I do as a Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Climate Change and Forestry actually has our top leadership. Indeed, our President is our greatest champion. And most of the programs we run under this ministry are actually government flagship programs. So we are honored as a country and really thank all the partners that are supporting this center because it is very crucial. The establishment of the Regional Center of Excellence comes at a very critical juncture where the interconnected crisis of climate change, habitat loss, pollution, and unsustainable resource exploitation pose unprecedented threats to the delicate balance of life on Earth. The need for collaboration, innovation, and knowledge exchange across borders has never been more urgent. Being one of the centers in Eastern and Southern Africa, and amongst the only 3 in Africa, Kenya is indeed privileged to host this amazing facility, as it will continue enhancing the country's status as a regional leader in conservation efforts, showcasing our commitment to biodiversity preservation and sustainable development. Secondly, the Eastern and Southern African region will continue benefiting from this hub through knowledge exchange, capacity building, and networking among all stakeholders, fostering collaboration and partnerships. Furthermore, the Regional Center of Excellence is poised to play a pivotal role in advancing the implementation of key international agreements, including the Convention on Biodiversity, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and not to mention the Sustainable Development Goals. By aligning our actions with these global commitments, we can amplify our impact and drive meaningful progress towards a more sustainable future for all. I also take this opportunity to appreciate and acknowledge the support accorded through the East and Southern African Observatory Project in Kenya, OFFA. The project amplified a collaborative effort between the Kenya Forest Service, the Center for International Forestry Research, CIFOR, and the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources, RCMRD. This was to upscale the forest alert system to enhance forest monitoring and management in Arabuko, Sokoke, Kakamega, and the Mau forests. I am aware that the project focused on extensive training where we had sessions conducted for 282 forest monitors, including forest station managers, forest rangers, and community scouts. These training sessions covered 16 forest stations spanning approximately 56,540 hectares of forest area. This has come to address gaps in forest management through capacity building and provision of technical support. The RCMRD has also played a pivotal role in wall-to-wall mapping initiatives in Kenya, which encompass mapping of land cover, land use change, forest cover change, and forest types, among other aspects. My ministry invites such collaborative partnerships, which will go a long way in supporting the government priorities for the forest sector, which includes our national landscape and ecosystem restoration under a strategy that we have worked on for the protection of forest and climate change actions. The national landscape and ecosystem restoration seeks, among other things, because it's a holistic strategy, to grow 15 billion trees in the next 10 years, and this calls for robust monitoring of the tree growing initiatives across the country. Currently, all tree growing initiatives are recorded through a mobile-based application we have dubbed the JAZAMITI app, which uses geospatial technology, and we seek the technical partnership and support to improve the geospatial capabilities of this application and its ecosystem. The app is currently domiciled within the Kenya Forestry Research Institute. We are hoping to scale it up and anchor it under the DRSRS, and I wish to invite RCMRD to help us operationalize this and make sure that it is very comprehensive. Finally, I would wish to appreciate the visionary leadership of RCMRD for spearheading this initiative, and to our esteemed partners for their unwavering support and collaboration. Together, we have laid the foundation for a brighter, more sustainable future for our region and beyond. As we stand on the threshold of this new chapter in our journey, let us reaffirm our shared responsibility to protect and conserve our natural heritage. Let us harness the power of knowledge, innovation, and cooperation to build resilient ecosystems and vibrant communities that thrive in harmony with nature. By working together, we can overcome the most pressing environmental challenges of our time and ensure a better world for our future generations. In conclusion, I wish to congratulate the dedicated team behind the Regional Center of Excellence and all those who have contributed to this momentous achievement. May the Regional Center of Excellence for Biodiversity, Forests, and Seascape Ecosystems Management serve as a beacon of hope and inspiration, guiding us towards a more sustainable and prosperous future. And as the DG had requested, he said the ask he has for me is to request me to be a champion of RCMRD, as well as availing myself for counsel and learning. It is really the least of asks I could get, because this is very crucial for us. Information and data required to support our policy directions, our policy strategies, is extremely very crucial. And you realize that some of the information that we have to churn out as a country speaks to very serious commitments that we have made as a country, regionally and globally. And this has to have very keen quality checks, because it is the credibility of our commitments on the line. And therefore, I would like to assure you of my support and commitment, and it comes at the wake of our working hard to ensure that, I know it has been said that we have overmapped our resources, but I think that we still have a lot of work to be done. We need to do our natural resource accounting as a country, and thereafter ensure that what follows is sufficient resourcing of the natural resource management sectors. And therein, the crucial need for very accurate data lies. But also to say that, as we say we have overmapped, it might be true. And the challenge might have been the communication. I know somebody here mentioned the need for all of us to be very strategic in how we share this data. I tell my scientists in KEFRI all the time, I don't know if KEFRI is here, that they have this very rich, many years of research and data collection. But if it does not speak to the food security need of our Kenyans, our Kenyan populations, and indeed the African populations and the regional populations, then it remains just that. I think it's time that we make sure that our data becomes very real and practical, like our brother from IUCN said, that it informs the actions on the ground so that we see change happening within our populations. So I want to assure you, Mr. DG, and all the partners here, and to appreciate, when I look across the high table, there's no table, oh, there are small tables. I can almost mention areas of collaboration that we have with all the entities represented here. I wish to invite you for us to enhance this, and once we combine this with the data and science, I can rest assured that it is going to be a meaningful impact for our populations across the region. It's not just in Kenya. And therefore, for me, this is not just an event, it is a journey that I invite all of us to walk in this together and assure you of my support. Asanteni sana na karibuni tena. Thank you.
Another round of applause for the CS as she takes her seat. Thank you very much. So we are almost approaching the tail end of our lunch. So what we are going to do right now is to have a group photo for the members of the high table, the first row. We kindly request you to come on stage and we do a group photo. They are removing the podium so that we can do a group photo on the stage. Thank you. We invite all the members in the front row to come to the stage for a group photo. Thank you very much. So we can have the cake while we are still on the stage. Let's bring the cake, and the CS will cut it, accompanied by the members of the high table. Thank you. So I think the CS can proceed to cut the cake.
entertainment ndio wataishi.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So the next step is we are all invited for lunch. Lunch is being served on the left side. There's a big tent on the left side of where I am. So you are free and welcome to join us for lunch and enjoy. After you finish your lunch, feel free to visit the exhibition booths, our pavilion, take photos and share with your colleagues. Thank you very much. That's the end. Safe travels for the ones who will be traveling back. Bye-bye.